Hi, Simon here, GM8NYB. This is my CR100 restoration, renovation so far. I haven't done much this last couple of weeks. Most of the bits left are just little fiddly little bits I need to get down and do. So I just thought I'd do a quick recap of what I've done so far. Also helped me to get everything out and see what I've done. Most of it's stored in boxes. So I put a few things out on the bench here, so I'll move this down. Hopefully we can see it with this so far. Right, that's the chassis completed. These lately I've been doing the top caps of the valves. I've got 3 here. There's a few more to do, 2 more, 1 more with the resistor. One of the top caps was missing, so I'll have to source one of those. This is the divider that was inside for the RF board. These are the tag strips which I've now repopulated, and I've done different coloured wires. If you look on a lot of them, they're all coloured the same, but this helps. So I've done anode circuits, green circuit, yellow. I think I used blue for the grids. So when I come to reassemble it, at least I have an idea. Same for the IF section. And the 2 little boards here also repopulated, mainly resistors. I label them, make it easier. All the IFTs, which I did. These are the fixed tops. Going to the other anodes I need to attach to. I've got little brackets here. You can see them. I just sprayed them all up. These are bolted on the chassis in various places for supporting the individual pieces. That's the noise limiter. That mounted on there somewhere. Transformers to go on. This is the capacitor. That'll sit on there nicely, like that. Let's move the camera a little further forward. You can see it better. Drop it. I might just touch this. I don't want to spray this, obviously, but to keep it in the same colour scheme, I'll just use a little brush, just brush up on the thing. The capacitor, nice smooth action there. I put a small blob of oil on the bearing, very small amount, and I haven't done anything to the gears yet, so that's the go on there. These are the top. That's the one I haven't done. That's the top cap I've not done. I haven't done that one either. None of these have been done. So these are the strands that have to go on the end here, the caps that go on the valves. Right, let's move that out the way a second. Now, the original mains entry on this was they called it a Bulgin type connection. Now these are the modern IEC. You can also get these with a filter built in. Now I thought I don't really want to change much of the design of it, but I will make it a bit safer. Now then, this was the entry for the mains, and that almost fits. I could push it in, it would go in. What I want to do is make a small piece of metal in there, and so that fits in more snugly without gaps on it. So make a small little base for that. So I'd rather have a more modern kettle type plug. The other thing I don't like, these toggle switches. It does work, but it's very wobbly. Single pole, and I thought I would have just added a little extra wiring, but I think I shall get a modern version, a 2-pole one, so I can switch the live and the neutral side So that's a plan doing there. Right, that's a few bits. The other stuff are in the box there, so I'll clear this away and bring the other stuff out. And that's the other side. It's nice and clean. This is the heater wiring I've left in. This is the wiring, the higher resistance wiring that went up to the lamps at the front. Now I ummed and ahed about keeping the same type of lamps, but you can get equivalent LED ones which might be better. It'll be an experiment to put you can just screw them in, so I'm going to see if I can get some LED equivalents. I won't need the resistance wire then. So I'll stop the video there, I'll move this out of the way and have a look at the rest of the stuff. Box of valves there I need to check over. Right, I'll clear the bench a bit, and this is some of the other stuff that's been done. Some not done. First of all, remember the capacitors. I will now finally do the 0.1 capacitors that are chassis mounted. They've been repacked with modern components. One somewhere. Yeah, there they are. These are the 0.1s I put in these. Cut the tops off, remove the old waxy capacitors, fitted one of these, resealed it, soldered the point there. To connect to the bottom, I drilled a little hole in the can, a small needle file. It's got a nut on. I'll just show what I've decided to do with these. That's its washer. Right, let's see. On there you see the pointer. You see the wire, I've wrapped it round and soldered it. It's quite tight. There's also the internal connection is also soldered to it, but because of that's not going to sit very nicely into the chassis. I got these the copper washers. I've cut a little, made like a horseshoe really. I've cut a little notch out of it which sits over there nicely. So now that'll go flat, go through the chassis, then its washer, and then bolt it on. So that copper washer there, it'll take up the irregularities of the connection. So I've got a packet of washers. The other thing I've done is this, I cleaned it up. This is the 100 Hz filter, audio filter. Now I had these little trimmers on the top. They're taken apart and cleaned up. Unfortunately on one of them, which one it was, if I measure the resistance, when you adjust it by a compression trimmer, a little screw there, and it just pulls that in. Is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. It had, once I closed it up, it sort of shorted out, so I thought, oh dear me, wonder what it is, but it just turned out to be in between each one of these very small brass wafers. Let's see more on that one. In between the brass wafers there's small sheets of mica. A very top one started to flake up after I cleaned it up. So when I compressed it up, at some point it shorted out. You can see the resistance went up and up from a few megs up. It was open circuit, and when I just closed it, started a couple of megs, and when it ended up in about 2K or something. So I have this little plastic sheet here. Don't know what it's off. Got a small piece out of it, and I managed to slide underneath there. So now it works. So it's open circuit all the way down through its range. There's to be remounted back on there. That's a 100 Hz filter. The transformer, I did a video on it. What I'm going to do, this is an experiment. I need to get a piece of wire, a piece of metal that's going to be bolted onto this. It's going to be fixed to the screws on here, and these are going to be soldered onto the tags. Give some strain relief and that means I don't have to flex these anymore. And then new wiring will be obviously taken from the other side of the tags. That's the mains transformer. One of the smoothing chokes, there's another one I need to paint as well. That's okay as it is. Also fragile, but I think I'll be okay leaving it like that. But this transformer is an additional one. If you remember on the model I have here, which is the Mark 7, has the RIS, which is the radar interference suppression. It was an add-on, obviously, to cut off the receiver as a radar pulse was sent. Now that radar pulse went to this transformer, and the output of the transformer then went to a small, well, went to the front end of the radio to I think went to the screen grid or the suppressor grid and switch off the front end of the valve. Now, two minds whether to put this back on, but it's not going to serve any purpose not having a radar flashing around here, so I don't think it's going to make much difference. Maybe I could time it with my electric fence for the stop control, but I don't think that's necessary. So I might not fit that back, I might just leave that out. Coming on, the mode switch, all cleaned up, put back together, new wiring. Now, there's a few capacitors to do. These capacitors, unfortunately, when I got them, I've got one end on it, the other one snapped off, and I had an experiment. I've put thin wire on here, so I'll probably do the same. I had to file a slot to expose what was left and solder some wire on it. That's another big capacitor, but this is part of the radar interference suppression, so it's not really part of the main workings of the radio. The toggle switches, as I mentioned, I'm not really liking these type anymore. I'm going to get modern ones, probably roughly the same size but double pole. Capacitors left to do are, well, these are electrolytics. These are I don't know the value of them, 25 UF. I've done that one, so I've got modern 25 UF capacitor in it. This one I've got to do. These aren't original. These are also dated January 1954, which was the same. This is the main capacitor, this was 52. Now, obviously, it's way past the production date of the radio, so obviously these were repairs at some point. There's two of these. I've done that one. There's got a little capacitor in it. It's a .0. That's the .01. It doesn't use the bottom. It just uses two terminals there. This I thought was .01, but it looks like .1 as well. So this is .1. Again, both terminals come out the top, so that I need to put a new capacitor in there. And the other three capacitors. Cut the top off this one, and I can't really pick out that. So, and it looks like it's soldered all along it. These are 375 volts, and they're 1 UF capacitors. I might try dismantling this and soldering it all. I'm not sure what to do, whether to just replace it with new ones or try and repack these. Same with this one here. This is C107. I can't remember what the value of it was. I wrote it in felt pen, so that'll need to be done. Valve screens, most of them are okay. These are just two of them here. The one, two have been dented and chewed, but reusable again. The top, this is a tuning scale. I've wrapped it around here. It's still got the original cord on it that slides along. Now this goes in there and also really glued in. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that out. I've untied this, it's not cut, it's still okay, but if I do replace it, I'll have to find some way of reattaching the cord on here. I've still yet to get some dial cord. Down here I've got the dials, vernier dials. This is the best I can clean it up without starting to rub off the paint. it's marked 0 to 9, 0 to 9. This is 0 to 25. Now what I did with this, although it was very hard to scan because of that, I stuck some tracing paper with a hole in there over the top, carefully traced it, and then scanned it in, and I put it into a CAD program. So I've cleaned it all up. Now if you remember me saying what I want to do with the front panel is to try screen printing on it. The screen print idea I saw off a website. Somebody else had restored one of these. So I've got to practice some screen printing and hopefully make a good result of that. So this might be possible to screen print on. Obviously I'll practice on something else first before I use these. This is riveted on, so it's, I have to drill out the rivets. Anyway, that's for future thoughts on what to do with those. The drum is down here as well. This is the scale. It rotates as you change the wave. And it rotated for the 6 different bands. Now this has been there's plenty on the internet of this scale. So this is a cardboard tube. So I think it looks like it's lacquered. So I thought maybe if I can get photographic paper, very thin photographic printer paper, reprint it. That's another thing for the future when I start building it up. Box of things left to do, fiddly little things. Basically, just the knobs to give them a clean up, I suppose. I had a quick check of these pots. This is the HF variable pot. I opened it up and gave it a clean up, and I put it on a meter. It seems to be smooth enough with no jumps or any gaps. This is the radar interference suppression, an additional one. I haven't tested that one, and the other frequency one somewhere. Then I've got the individual links. I'll go in here. The back plate. The link for the heater type of supply. There's a pulley wheel. So it's full of nuts and bolts. So there's a few bits and pieces. And this was part of the noise limiter, which I'll re-add on, but it needs redoing. These are the small, lost words. This is a small lamp holder, so I might get an LED one that'll go in there. So these little bits and pieces that I've looked at and clean up. That's about it. And I managed to get a couple of valves off the internet. These are probably okay. I've not tested them. These are the valves that came with it. Most of them seem okay. Some of the writing's rubbed off, so I've had to put it on a felt pen. These are KW62s. 61s are equivalents, so there was a 61 with it. So along with a 62 and a 61, the 62, 62. Now the problem with this, all of these when I took them off, they were all loose. The glass envelope where it went into the base was very, very loose. So what I've done is run some glue in there, and they're quite tight. I didn't want to pull them out, so I had to hold them at the base here and pull them out. The only valve I need to solve, and it seems quite expensive on eBay, is this one here. It's a KT63. It rattles. It might work, probably does work, but I think I shall get a new one. I looked a quiz on eBay, and people want like £60 for them. Anyway, that's the. I don't have one of them. This is the rectifier, the 5U4G, which I do actually have some spares, so that's the valve. So that's it so far. So a few little fiddly bits to do, get the transformer going, and then I think I shall start to rebuild it bit by bit, get a plan. I'm still doing, most of the time I've spent redoing the circuit diagram. I know I've got downloaded and it's in black and white. I've actually started it in colour, and I've made a little plan of how I'm going to rewire it, so I can go over that next time. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope it was of some interest. I'll recap of what I've done so far, and hopefully soon I'll start building it up. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.